All right, so I'm gonna lax up a little bit on business today. Really, just kind of wanted to go back to roots. I'm on this job here. It's actually a damn amazing opportunity. I'm super thankful for it. So I'm working out here at a dam in Ozark, and I'm having to do some piping work and rework some spools and stuff that were too short. So I'm having to rework them, and that just kind of got me thinking. Is that one of the things that is most important that no one really talks about is the benefits and all the things I learned from being a helper before I became a welder. Most people are like, yeah, I want to be a welder. That's the thing. That's pride and joy. If you're a welder, you're pretty cool. You get all the ladies and all that fun stuff. But anyways, there's actually a lot of very important things that I learned and that were very important when I started out as a welder's helper first, before I started learning how to weld and later on became a welder rather than just going straight into welding. And I wanted to hit on those just a little bit, real briefly here. First off, when you are a helper, you spend thousands of hours on a grinder. So most of you may think that, oh, that sucks, I would never want to be. But I tell you what, I've had to do a lot of mitering, a lot of end prep, a lot of cleanup. Have to cut off old fittings sometimes, re-prep the ends, square them, give it a nice perfect land, you work with the grinder so much that I can pretty much get the end of any, like literally what I just did today. Chopped off the end of a 4-inch spool with a thing of 600-pound flange, and there's that weld and everything right there, and I had to re-prep it, put a new end on there. So being able to just get real familiar with having that right degree, they say 37 and a half, sometimes get away with 30-degree bevel on there, but just getting used to where it's real, kind of conformed all the way around and be able to hand prep things. Doesn't happen too often, especially just because of the cost and time needed in reworking fittings. It's easier just to buy for the most part. But that was really important, and what I think is really important is you understand how to be able to prep your own stuff and why and such like that. Because I know when you start out welding, you don't think that way. When you start out welding, just go straight into a welding school or college or anything like that, you just think, the fastest you can just prep it up right quick and get welding. Just get welding. Well, when you start out as a helper and you're actually on X-ray weld jobs quite a bit and have to work with bigger bore pipe, if you're looking at working 24, 36-inch, and even upwards, I had the opportunity to work on 48-inch pipe. You need to know that it is critical that you get these fit-ups proper and you get the ends prepped properly, because you don't want a bunch of fish mouth, you don't want a bunch of wave and stuff like that in your pipe end. You want it perfect all the way around, and you don't really realize that until you get in the bigger stuff or something that's actually critical. Your welder's going to start yelling at you whenever the gap goes narrow, wide, or you just got one big wide spot right on the top quarter there. You start noticing why it's important to take the time and prep. And then the next thing that was most important that I feel when I was being a helper before I was a welder is that I got the opportunity to work with some people that were welding in the trade, in the field for a long, long time. And for me, that's how I learn. I don't know about other people, but for me, I'm able to learn and look and adapt what I see into my own, and kind of rolled into my own way of doing things. So working with, quite a few, at least 50 different welders, and all their different styles. The main things is you can see, what heats they run, what kind of gap do they like to take, what kind of heats do they run, why do they run the heats that way, whenever, you're putting a bead in, do they like to step it, do they drag, do they bend the rod, what do they like to do and why. I like to assimilate why things are done a certain way, why they do it, and be able to take some of the best parts. Then, do they grind their bead clean, or do they just hit the tops, or do they just buff it? Why do they do that? Then you pay attention, how hot do they run on a hot pass if they grind versus if they don't grind? Are they ripping on it? What are they going to use on this pipe? You know, what rods are they going to use to fill it out? How many passes are they going to take to fill this out? This is all stuff you're learning from each and every person. So it's different than being just in a booth and learning to weld, which is a great opportunity once you've had the helper experience first, in my opinion, because you've seen so many people do it so many different ways. You get to try out all the different ways. If you don't know, you don't know. When you first get in the booth, if you don't know what you don't know, then you don't know what to even try out. But with the opportunity I had of having, you know, multiple welders helping, I was able to see all the different kind of heats, the different techniques, the different ways that they filled the pipe out, the different ways that they chose to cap, the different, just all the different techniques. I was able to try out a variety of techniques to be able to find the one that works best for me. Because like welding, or well, like anything, welding is so specific to just your character. You can't mimic one welder. You cannot weld exactly like another welder. There's little tweaks, little techniques, little things that each and every welder does differently, that if you pay attention and you go as a helper first, you can learn by watching. You're learning from them as they're making x-ray welds, rather than having someone try show you how to do it when you're trying to weld. It's best when you can step back and you can pay attention. You know, oh, what size rod do they use now? What size heat are they running? Oh, they start off a little hot. Oh, I noticed they come down to about 1:32 o'clock. They come down 10. Why do they come down 10? Oh, they're running down the side. Oh, they're coming up on bottom. They want to drop down another 10. But why do they do that? You run the next guy. He runs the same heat from top to bottom all the way down on pipe. So all these things you start seeing and understanding why. And then if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough to have someone that's willing to teach you, they'll even tell you, you know, make sure to grab a hood. Watch what they do. There's so many different things, specifically with stick welding. I mean, TIG welding, there's a lot more to it as well. I don't specialize very much in it. It's a lot of my experience, a majority of it, I should say, is all stick. So seeing rod angle, arc length, heat, all this stuff, travel speed, all those variables can manipulate anything you want in a puddle. So being able to pay attention to that and see it from multiple perspectives, that was what was most important to me. And when I was a helper first, then became a welder, was I was in the field, saw why people did things the way they did, understood to try it for myself, saw some things didn't work, some things did, some things made sense, some things didn't make sense, and that's fine. If it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't have to, as long as it works for the welder. So I learned the importance of prep work, how to properly prep for welds that are going to be critical welds, and understood why, understood gaps, understood fit-ups, why it was a certain way, because you're in a comfortable zone. That's the best zone to be in. When you're an apprentice, you can do things, try jumping out there and get there, and they're gonna tell you when you're wrong. And that's the best part, is that's the best place to fail. Fail as hard as you can, because when you do something wrong, they'll say, no, you don't want to do that. Or, you know, you go two-hole something and you don't do it right, they'll tell you. So you can learn all your mistakes while you're right next to someone that's got years of experience. And it was very beneficial to me to be a helper first, an apprentice first, before I actually became a welder. And I would say most people should do it. And then, of course, you're actually right next to them as they're welding. I mean, that's the best situation to be in. You're getting paid to stand right next by the person that can teach you everything they know over a lifetime of welding. They can be passed on to you, and you're on the clock. It just seems like a good opportunity to me. But that's just my opinion. I just wanted to take some time to share with you why I thought that being a helper or an apprentice was a very profitable thing for me to do when I first got started. Hope you guys enjoyed today's topic. You have a great day. And as always, I'll talk to you later.